A Frozen World. Episode 1. A New Kind of Ice Age. The Earth was dramatically different when our ancestors first walked upright. Gone were the sprawling grasslands and tropical forests that had dominated the landscape for millions of years. In their place were vast plains of ice and snow, a frozen wasteland that stretched from pole to pole. This was the most intense ice age in Earth's history, an epoch known as the Pleistocene. It lasted from 2.6 million to 11,700 years ago. And it is during this time that our genus, Homo, along with many other animals and plants, began to adapt to the cold or go extinct. Hi, it's me, and this is episode 1 of A Frozen World, a series about the most recent ice age. Over the next few episodes, we are going to explore how the Pleistocene transformed our planet and the amazing creatures that lived through it. We will travel to the Arctic Circle to discover the lives of the first humans to hunt reindeer and woolly mammoths. We will trek through the jungles of Southeast Asia to find the mysterious origins of the Hobbit people. And we will adventure deep into the heart of Siberia to uncover the secret past of one of the world's most dangerous predators. But before we begin, let me ask you this question. What do you think of when you hear the term Ice Age? You might be thinking of the movie about a snowman named Olaf, or perhaps the Disney movie Frozen. But there have been many ice ages throughout Earth's history. The Pleistocene was not even the worst one. That title belongs to the Cryogenian period, which took place more than 635 million years ago. During this time, around 80% of the planet was covered in ice, including both poles and large swaths of land between them. This lasted for about 200 million years, until temperatures rose and the ice melted away. Life today would be unrecognizable without the Pleistocene. Our own species, Homo sapiens, appeared during this epoch, and so did some of our closest relatives, the Neanderthals and Denisovans. Many iconic animals also made their first appearance, such as wild dogs, saber-tooth cats, giant sloths, and of course, woolly mammoths. Of course, there were also some major extinctions, like the demise of most of Earth's big plant-eating dinosaurs. So what made this epoch so unique? Why did so many species appear at this time? And why did others disappear forever? To answer these questions, we have to rewind the clock even further, back to 2.5 million years ago, when the Earth's axis began to tilt. The tilt caused by gravitational forces from the moon resulted in more extreme seasons. Summers were hotter and drier, and winters colder and snowier. The average temperature dropped by 4 degrees Celsius. This may not sound like much, but over millions of years, small changes like this can alter the course of history. In the northern hemisphere, the growing cold led to the formation of glaciers. At first, they were small, no more than a few square kilometers in area, but over time, they grew larger and merged to form one massive ice sheet. Eventually, this continental glacier covered much of northern Canada, the northern United States, and northern Europe. Even more extensive ice sheets formed in Antarctica and reached more than 4 kilometers in thickness. This was enough ice to lower sea levels by about 120 meters. Now, if you live in North America, you probably know that there is a giant ocean between you and Europe. But during the Pleistocene, those two continents were connected by a land bridge known as Beringia. This is now underwater because as the glaciers grew, they melted and the water filled in the gap. The low sea levels also exposed new land areas. For example, during the height of the last ice age, the exposed seabed connected Siberia with Alaska. This became known as the Siberian Bridge. As the Pleistocene progressed, ice advanced and retreated several times. Each glacial period could last hundreds of thousands of years. Then suddenly, the climate would warm, and the ice would melt away. These warmer periods were called interglacials. The last one we are still living through today began about 11,700 years ago. Scientists think that the warming was caused by changes in the Earth's orbit and tilt that affected the amount of sunlight reaching the planet. During the coldest parts of the Ice Age, only about 10% of the planet's surface was ice-free. As the Earth froze, the climate zones shifted. Lush tropical forests were replaced by dry grasslands, and most of the world became a frozen desert. Only the southernmost regions of South America, Africa, and Australia remained relatively unchanged. These areas became biodiversity hotspots. Since then, they have been home to many endemic species found nowhere else on Earth. By 18,000 years ago, the peak of the last glacial maximum, the world was covered in ice, snow, and tundra. Only small pockets of forest survived in the tropics, and the temperate zones were mostly barren. Imagine trying to survive in such an environment. Your days would be spent searching for food, and your nights would be bitterly cold. With temperatures dropping as low as 35 degrees Celsius, building a shelter was essential. In these harsh conditions, our ancestors had to learn new skills to survive. They had to invent better tools to hunt and gather food, and develop new ways to keep warm. Some groups migrated southwards in search of more hospitable climates, while others stayed put and adapted to the cold. The Pleistocene was a time of great challenges, but also great opportunities. New species evolved to fill the empty ecological niches created by the changing climate. For example, the ancestors of modern humans were small proto-humans who lived in Africa. But as the Ice Age began, they started to move into Eurasia, where they encountered new environments and resources. Our ancestors quickly evolved to take advantage of these resources. Within just a few 100,000 years, Homo sapiens became the dominant human species on the planet. But we weren't alone. Other hominins, such as the Neanderthals and Denisovans, also thrived during the Pleistocene. These early humans had distinct physical and behavioral traits. Neanderthals, for example, were shorter and stockier than modern humans, with shorter limbs and a larger rib cage. This body type was well suited to the cold climate of Europe and Western Asia. They were skilled hunters who used spears and other weapons to take down large prey. They also had a complex social structure and developed their own culture. They buried their dead and created cave paintings, which suggest that they had a rich spiritual life. Denisovans were similar to Neanderthals, but they lived farther east in Siberia and China. Genetic evidence suggests that they interbred with Homo sapiens, but they went extinct around 100,000 years ago. Our own species, Homo sapiens, emerged in Africa about 300,000 years ago. We were taller and more slender than our cousins, with longer legs and arms. This body type was well suited to running and endurance hunting. We were also highly adaptable and could thrive in a variety of environments. This flexibility allowed us to spread to all corners of the globe. By the end of the Pleistocene, Homo sapiens were the only surviving hominins. What happened to the Neanderthals and Denisovans? One theory is that they were outcompeted by Homo sapiens for resources. Another theory is that they were wiped out by a sudden climate change or a disease to which they had no immunity. Whatever the reason, their extinction was a pivotal moment in human history. It marked the beginning of our dominance on the planet. This dominance would have a profound impact on the natural world. As Homo sapiens spread across the globe, they hunted and gathered resources, often to the point of extinction. For example, the Pleistocene saw the extinction of many large mammals, including Irish elk, the largest deer that ever lived, and the woolly mammoth, perhaps the most iconic creature of the Ice Age. But not all species disappeared. Some managed to adapt and survive, such as the polar bear, which evolved from brown bears, and the gray wolf, which descended from ancient proto-wolves. As the Pleistocene drew to a close, the world began to warm, and the ice sheets melted. This created new habitats and allowed new species to flourish. But it also spelled the end of the Ice Age and the beginning of a new era in Earth's history. What will we explore next? How did life continue after the Ice Age? And what secrets will we uncover about the creatures that roamed the frozen world? Join us in the next episode of A Frozen World and find out. See you soon.